Okay, here we are. Okay, what is going on with this thing? Trying to figure out why it is so delayed. Okay, here we are. Hey there, Arizona Raven. I've never done a live stream, but listen, this is weird because it's got such a delay in the video. Video stream is very slow. What is going on with this thing? Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing some information. It is so delayed. It's very strange because it really isn't here we are. Like on right now. You know, I'm listening to myself. I've never done a live 10 seconds ago. So it's kind of weird. I'll have to get used to this kind of weirdness. Maybe I need some sort of different camera. I don't know. Anyway, I have got to show you guys. If you guys don't know already, you need to start watching. Start watching Jordan Peterson, if you don't know already. I came across one of his videos today and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't even have time to try to get these videos out for all of the information that is being downloaded into the internet. And that is just, it's blowing me away a little bit. Can y'all hear me okay? Start watching. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go on Zoom and I'm going to share screen right now because this is insane, y'all. I don't even have time to get these videos. So here we have Jordan Peterson supposedly accidentally leaked the details on live TV. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I'm just going to hit play on this. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and
automate your tyrannical masters.
Share screen right
That's
now.
The danger. That's one of the dangers.
This is insane.
And this is a whole new kind of monster.
So here
we are already here.
Jordan Peterson supposedly accidentally.
The Canadian psychologist is trying to address a critical danger about machine learning and AI. And he realized that there is a side of the coin that's just not being shown here.
What's your position on artificial intelligence, potential positive and negative outcomes, and general sense of what it will mean for
Kind of monster.
I think we need
humanity,
those people
over the next 5 years? 5 years, that's all.
Supposedly
Well, my position basically is we better get our act together before the giants show up. And they're like knocking at the door. So better
Position on artificial
your art,
intelligence,
folks, and
potential positive and negative.
get on your adventure because we're whipping up some things in the lab that make everything that's come so far look like nothing's
5 years.
happened at all yet. Well, and that's not, we better get our act together before the giants show up. Next year, that's tomorrow. That's now. So
this is what I'm talking about. Like this,
we're going to have a lot of things to
crazy
contend with.
down here.
Many
I've
individuals,
been
including Mr.
saying,
Peterson, have expressed concern.
okay, so I have been telling everyone,
Make everything that's
like,
come so far look like
just
nothing
wait, because the age of
happened at
Aquarius
all
is going
yet.
to be insane. It's going to wake people up and shake the foundations of our reality. But for this guy to be speaking publicly about the giants, I don't know what else to say, because this is crazy. And I'm glad that more people are talking about this, because it's just, it needs to come out. It was spoken of in the Bible and other places, you know, in different cultures around the world. But now this whole narrative about giants and about all of the things that the extra terrans or extra terrestrials, that's all coming, and it's just getting bigger. And I'm just like, is somebody listening? Because when you go out, you don't see any of that. Like, you don't see people just having these discussions. I try to talk about stuff, but I don't know. You know, I'm trying to wake people up, at least get people to start talking about stuff. And I can share with you guys. I'm going to stop this share screen thing. It's getting bigger, and I'm trying to help people to see what's going on, because how do you help them? I am confused. I'm like, I'm trying to do everything I can, but I'm shadow banned on Facebook and on YouTube. So I don't know.
Share with you guys. I'm gonna stop.
This whole lag time thing is kind of weird to me.
It's getting bigger.
So I don't know.
It's
It's kind of like distorted and
what's
stuff.
going on because
It's hard to keep up with because I hear myself, and then I hear the other video. I don't know how it sounds on your end, but it's like chaos in motion. Yeah, that's what I've seen. Let me see what happens if I just turn this thing down. So this is my first time doing Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and I've got it zooming, with Zoom, and it's connected and it's trying to do both at the same time. So it may be easier if I don't use Zoom, but I wanted to do the share screen option because I'm not sure if I can do that in YouTube or not. But no, I don't have a TV on. What it is this thing has a lag time. And so since it's playing live, it's got that going in the background. Maybe I don't know. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, I turned off the other video thing, but the Jordan Peterson, I want to share that link with you guys because I think that's very important. If you haven't seen it already, I only just saw this because it just suggested it to me today. I'm going to put that in the chat so that you guys can go check out that video by Jordan Peterson. I've known about this man for probably 2 or 3 years, I guess. And he's supposedly like a psychologist or something, but he's in Canada and he is out like a lion talking about this stuff. So, okay, good. Yeah, sorry. Like I said, I'm not exactly the best with all of this technology stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I do not like it because I do recognize what it represents. It is tied to the underworld because the underworld represents anything that's hidden, anything of darkness. And we see the screen is very dark, and these jinn, guys, I don't know what you guys have seen out there lately, but my spidey senses are going off. I just had to sage my house last night. Something was in my house. I do not know what. I was outside and I was dealing with like a possum or something scratching underneath my house. So I was trying to figure out how to capture that thing. I come back inside, something falls. My roommate's not here. She's like in Atlanta. Something falls in her room. And then like I can sense that something is amiss. My incense that I had started, it went out. And that doesn't normally happen. And so I said, you know what? It's time to start saging. It's time to start paying attention to everything around you, everyone around you. I'm seeing that the darkness is affecting my friends, my family, all these people, because the spirit realm can influence people's minds. And people are not privy to this yet. And I am trying to be out here like a lion talking about everything, because all of the events of the world today, they are trying to get as many people possessed as possible. And I have been doing my research. I tell you, I have been doing so much. I mean, I have this book, Spirit Releasement Therapy. This guy is a dentist, and it's basically a practical guide, but he has written about all this therapy about removing entities from people. And there's various kinds. You have the average entity that is a disincarnated human. And then it goes to deeper levels to where it goes to the darkest, deepest depths of hell, basically. And that's where you're going to find some of these jinn and some of the demons. And oh my gosh, I mean, you should see my desktop, and all of the tabs that I have on all of the different subjects that I'm trying to talk about, but yet I've had to disconnect from this septic system that is growing all around us. I don't carry my phone with me because what people haven't recognized is that this is being made to control us and to collect our consciousness and to possess our minds and our time. Whenever I get online, I don't know if this happens to you. You had a seizure. Oh my gosh, that's awful. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but whenever I go online, the next time I turn around, it's like been 2 hours or something. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm giving my soul to this system. And I feel like they make it so that, you have to spend more time because there's things that they could be doing that's so much easier, easier ways of doing things. And I feel like it's just learning about us really is real, all of this where it's recording you constantly and uploading you to the cloud. This system that's coming, that we're feeding our consciousness into, is going to be the next great challenge for humanity. But this whole video with Jordan Peterson talks about that, talks about how dangerous the artificial intelligence is right now. So, service animal, oh yeah. So, with the seizure, now, do you normally have seizures, Nomics? Do you normally have seizures like that? Because I'll tell you some things that I know about, like the artificial sweeteners. Those can actually cause that. When I was married, I had 2 sisters-in-laws. They both started having seizures from drinking the, not only would they use Sweet and Low and all the artificial sweeteners, but they would drink the sugar-free diet drinks and things. And now, unfortunately, they're no longer with us. Because they had started having seizures, and then eventually I think they passed from different health issues. But I'm trying to raise awareness on all levels, and I only wish people the best, and I just wish I could help everyone see this is getting really, really weird in the world. And I know you guys have probably heard about the financial system that is beginning in July. They're actually going to be starting it up. Medication. Yes. So know this. I don't know what you're taking medication for, but medication is pharmakia. Pharmakia is drugs and sorcery. The sorcery is getting deeper. They are trying to do all kinds of crazy things to people with the pharmakia. They've been experimenting on us like guinea pigs, and they've been using us as lab rats. And now, fortunately, this is my belief because of all of my research that I've done, the Hyperboreans are here and they're trying to assist. They have UFO technology. They have technology above and beyond our own. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you a website that I found based on the Hyperboreans that you guys might want to take a look at. So this is Hyperborean Laboratories. This is what I'm saying. Like, look at all my tabs at the top. It's ridiculous, all the subjects that I want to try to cover and tie into what's happening right now. But where we are right now, there's a proxy war of the gods. What we consider gods are these giant beings that they live above and beyond our own existence. They, according to a lot of the research that I've read from the Greeks, this is the ancient Greeks and their philosophies, they say that the Hyperboreans, 1 year to us is 1 day to them. Now do the math on that and you'll realize how long these people live, and that they are in the middle of our earth. They're in the center, it would be the map of a flat earth plane. But the earth is not completely flat, and that's the part that we can't just assume. NASA, I want to say something about NASA too, because that's going to be another thing that I'm going to focus on in one of my presentations, is that NASA is Nasha. Nasha, it means deceiver. And SpaceX and Planet X and all this stuff It's us. Based on all of my research, looking into this whole Planet X narrative, it's us. X is chi or chi, which is in the Greek letters. This is where they get all this foundational stuff, because they can't seem to come up with their own narrative. So they use a lot of the past history and then regurgitate it out into something else. They're not creative. The serpent is not creative. It can only imitate and replicate, but it cannot, do anything else. It has no original content, basically. So all you have to do is dig very deep and you can find the truth about things. Now, as you can see, this is all part of Pythagoras. When it talks about Hyperborea, it goes into Aristotle, it goes into Pythagoras and Plato and Ptolemy, all these Greek philosophers that talk about the Hyperboreans, where they live, and it goes into all of this information. We are the product of all of these other wars that have taken place, and those wars are now coming to a head, so to speak. So I'm going to take this link, I'm going to save it and put it in the chat for you guys, so that way you can have it and have a look at it. And yeah, this is just one more thing, this is all the stuff that I'm trying to bring to the table, but there's so much content right now. It takes me a very long time to make the videos that I put out. So it takes hours and hours to go through and edit and to try to correct things, because I'm not perfect either, but I try to just, clean it up a little bit so that it makes sense to people, and it kind of cuts out a lot of the fluff time. So that's the kind of videos I try to put out. I don't like a whole lot of empty space or just sitting there, looking at the camera or something goofy. So, that's what I've been doing, but I've been more physical lately. That's why I haven't put out any videos. I'm trying to spend time out in nature, out in my town, which is small, but trying to do things, trying to help people. This is what I do on a daily basis. And I realize, and I don't know how deep you guys have connected with your inner wisdom and your inner spirit and your guides, but in the mornings, before I get out of bed, usually at the crack of dawn, I'll start connecting with something greater than myself. The past 3 days, because I've been playing music on a harp, which I have over here, let me get this. I am trying to connect with my inner divinity, basically. And do you know that how important the lyre was back during Tartaria, not Tartaria, it was part of Atlantis and Lemuria. And they used these lyre harps because of the beautiful sound frequencies that they emit. And it's very easy to play, or at least I find it that way. And so what's struck me so hard recently is that our sound frequency that we emit from our voices, it is a very powerful light frequency. This is what all of the science is mounting to, is that our voice plus our conscious thought and intention is manifesting and creating from the ether. And once we can all focus in the same direction together as one voice, or the universe, that's the one sound system, then we can begin to take our power back. The earth is dying right now because of what they are spraying in the sky, but we have electroculture, we have the biodynamic farming, we have all of these old practices coming back. All of the knowledge is being poured back into this moment and this day and time. All we have to do is collect the pieces, put it together, and then okay, we have all of the answers to heal everything and everyone, and it's inside of us. So I have been singing. I just go and I play. I actually carry this harp and sit it in my lap while I'm driving. And I just play music while I'm driving. But my next thing is to make lyrics that go with it. Right now, I'm just doing toning with my voice because I realize that the female voice is what's been missing to heal the Earth Mother. Mother Gaia, or Sophia, is waiting for us to realize our importance in this whole cosmic design. And because of our attention being taken away to all of the material world, it is now suffering because of us. I don't know if you noticed that the trees are getting too much fungus from all of the fire principle that they are now putting into the ground through the chemtrails, but they are also trying to bombard us on every level, amplifying fire principle or yang principle with the 5G, the spraying in the skies, what they call geoengineering, and the yin principle is being affected. But at the same time, what I see too collectively by just looking across the world at a broad spectrum is that the divine feminine in humans is starting to connect again, which is needed right now in order to bring the healing frequencies back into this entire universe. So, you know, there's so much going on, and we can help. Your voice and your thoughts and your intentions are all you need to go out and just start singing. You know what? Remember back in the days when they had all of these different musicals and people were dancing and singing and doing all this stuff? What happened to us? We don't do that anymore. We have all this darkness that's just being thrown at us from every direction, and people are absorbing that. You know, on Netflix, they got all this darkness and all this evil, and then you go to Amazon Prime, it's the same thing. What can we do? Well, you have a voice, I have a voice. We have a consciousness together. So, you know, go out and use your voice, sing to the plants, sing to the birds, whatever. Don't even worry about what people think, because it's not about them at this point. It's about us using our consciousness to start raising, really blowing up the light frequency, because your voice is light. You just can't see it. But the scientists are proving it, because they're showing you in Dr. Masaru Emoto's work that your voice, or even just your thoughts, is affecting fields of energy that you don't even know exist. So it's lovely to see the Great Awakening right now with more people talking about things. And I'm so excited to be able to share content that I know with other people. And then, you know, it kind of gets all the energies flowing. But what I'm seeing though right now, artificial intelligence, is that it's shifting us into a system of control. And that based on the Western astro-theology chart, what the age of Aquarius represents is we're starting with two separate foundations. That means the world's going to split into two. You're going to have the natural world, and you're going to have this septic world of control, which is artificial intelligence. So metaverse and metaphysical. So, you know, that's going to be the challenge. And we are about to be divided. And it's unfortunate because we need everybody, but we're losing too many people to the machine right now. We got to pull them back. I don't know how else there is that we can do it, but you know, you guys got some suggestions. I don't know. I want to do things collectively. I am trying desperately to figure out where are the communities. There have to be pockets of communities somewhere that are coming together to pool together their resources to get back to the natural things, you know, the natural ways of living, the all of the earth science based with the spirit science, because that's really all magic is spirit science. And we've been so afraid of it, we haven't looked into it. At least the people who are in the religioning of the world, they haven't looked into spirit science, and they don't believe in it because they've been shoved into a belief system of mind control, and they don't realize that the Lord that they are worshiping is the Dark Lord of Saturn. That's in Stephen Benoon's video, and that's a whole nother level too. You guys might want to check out this one. So I'm going to put this link in the description box, but or the chat room, and you guys check out Stephen Benoon's Planet X video. He goes through some things, but the problem with this is this whole narrative about Planet X needs to be really looked at closely. And I'll show you some things that I came across. I'll show you my notes because I've been I take notes just like, you know, conspiracy theorists, the movie or whatever that movie was, where they have these conspiracy theorists. Planet X, okay. Planet X is basically us. Planet X, X is energy. X is key. It's C-A-I. And then in the Greek letters, it's also C-H-I, which is key. And key is inner G or inner chi. See how they trick us? They trick us with words and terms. And if you don't know the words and terminology, going back into etymology, these things are imperative right now and are very useful tools to figure out what is being done. And that's how I use most of my stuff. I'm trying to find out where my Planet X information is so I can just go over some of this stuff. What I think they've been doing is they've been using what they call the angels of heaven. Now, Jordan Maxwell, if you know who he is, he said that the angels are the angles. And what that means is that it's the star angles. And if you look up at the night sky, you will notice that there are equilateral triangles everywhere. And that would be a Holy Trinity. What's described as a Holy Trinity. I've been delving into, the different occult magical practice and stuff. What I suspect is that the Hermetics and the Kabbalah system that they're using right now is actually the left-hand path tree of life. And that the Celtic Golden Dawn, so the terms are going to be important. Celtic Golden Dawn is actually the path of light. That's why there's a reference to the Golden Dawn. It's the bringing in the light. Everything is about spirit science, and it's about alchemy of spirit, connected with the alchemy of the stars. So that's all magic is. And I truly suspect that what they've been teaching online as Kabbalah is the left-hand path or the path of shadow. And nobody's really teaching the sound frequencies of the Golden Dawn. That's the difference that I see, is that they're using different words, which is the magic. It's the magical language of sound frequencies that reacts with the ether, that can manifest directly from the ether once we have everybody's attention in the same direction. But that won't happen until we get back around to the next golden age around Gemini. So we've got a long way to go, and we've got a lot of stuff to suffer through the two ages of Aquarius and Capricorn. Capricorn, I say right now, in this date and this time, based on the symbolism, it's going to be the challenge of rise of the hybrids. We're going to possibly see the centaurs again, the chimeras of old. I believe that's when it starts because of the symbolism of the goat and water serpent combined into one beast. So, and then that suggests land and water and a subversion of that. Just something to think about in the back of your mind. Right now, the age of Aquarius, the man symbol pouring the water back means that all of the knowledge is returning to the world. This water world that we live in is very important because the water is crystalline. Crystals hold memory, and it holds all the memories. Your bones are crystal. The water is crystal. The crystals are crystal. Like all this stuff is basically one unit, but it's tied into different forms. And there's so much to talk about. I am going to go scroll down here and find my Planet X stuff. Let's see here. Letter P. You should see my notes. It's ridiculous. I have a Word document and I have everything in alphabetical order, but sometimes it takes me a while just to find the actual letter because that's how big it is. I could sit here and probably talk for hours on all of the research that I've been doing, but I try to keep up and try to keep good notes with the actual research where I find the research, so that way I can go reference it again if I need to. So I'm going to go over here, try to find this. And I'm just a brainiac, y'all. I'm sorry. This is, this is the nerdy stuff that I do. I do this on the weekends, on the weekdays, weeknights, whenever I feel like it. I just come in here and I start nerding out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, to me, is the most important thing, because for an Aquarian, humanitarianism is the biggest goal of achievement, to try to help everyone. Well, let me just go over my notes. I'm going to go ahead and share screen with this so that you guys can just kind of read along with me, because this will just show you how nerdy I am. Okay, here we go. Here's my Word document. Now, it's a lot of information. It truly is. I mean, this is what I do. I really love knowledge, and that would show my air sign very well. Okay, so Planet X from Stephen Benoon's video that I just shared in the chat. He goes into the War Scroll from the Dead Sea Scrolls regarding, I think it's I Am Sooth or something, and that was at 1 minute 27 seconds. The Sea of Reeds from the Exodus account. So the Reeds are us out here in the world. These are the people who are actually not really awake. They're the ones who are like the NPCs, the non-player characters in a video game, because they're wandering around aimlessly. I mean, they're just like doing their automaton life. Go to work, get up, recycle, rinse, repeat. And I try to even help my family. I had a family reunion this past weekend. That was another thing that I went to a family reunion, and of course I knew there would be a lot of automatons there. And it's frustrating because I want to help them, but I can't, because they're just not at that frequency. So I let them be. I don't get mad. I used to get mad years ago. I would get mad at people. I'm like, oh my gosh, why aren't you listening to me? And I'm like, okay, never mind. It doesn't even matter. They're just not there. And when you get into the spiritual sense, you realize you can only talk about things to try to open a door. If people don't want to talk about it, then you just move on. And that's kind of what I do now. I just go, okay, well, that's fine, because believe me, I can go off on a tangent like I do here. So this is where I said I see this from a perspective of looking outwards at people who do not know themselves nor this world fully, being the chaff that needs separating from the wheat. And then Stephen goes on in 1 minute 50 seconds. You shall act against them and against the Pharaoh and the officers of his chariots in the Red Sea. The stricken spirits we will kindle like a flaming torch and achieve devouring wickedness. This is what we see today in the world, is about this wickedness. They have been summoning these things. They are saying that CERN is actually a part of this, that it's been allowing these things to come into our world. Apparently there was a temple of Apollyon is where the CERN actually is, created. So, and what I was finding out about Apollo in the Hyperboreans, Apollo was a prominent figure with the Hyperboreans, and apparently he was revered. So when they call these people gods, maybe Apollo was like, high in stature and in a physical sense, but he didn't seem like an evil person. But that's another thing that I wanted to do research on, was these Greek gods, because they're tied into all of this narrative. There is nothing out here that is in creation that is separate from everything else. What we have to do is find those connecting points. And that's something that I try to focus on, is the tiny threads that a lot of people are not truly looking into. So he goes into Corinthians right here. And he talks about the chapter 15, verse 35. Basically, you reap what you sow. If you reap greatness through virtue before you die, see, this is the part that we have been lacking. Once we've established ourselves and established a foundation for us to follow or grab onto, then we take that into the next life. We will take that aspect and bring it with us. I can tell you this, based on the hypnosis sessions that I do, and the ones that have been performed on myself to extract whatever past life information I needed at the time, that information truly rang true with me. Everything that came out of me, at first, I was questioning it because I'm like, what is this? This is the weirdest thing. But no, when you learn that water retains memory and that the DNA is like an open book, that it's been writing and scribing everything that's ever happened to you in every lifetime you've ever lived, it's like locked in. And it's memories that cannot be taken out. I guarantee you they're learning how to extract that information right now. With all this artificial intelligence and all the technology that they've got far in advance of what we know of, they probably know how to unlock the codes of the DNA. But what is inside of you is the truth. You have to know this. Know that your inner guide, your innermost sensations, whether you feel tied to a specific era in the past, or maybe you feel like you came from another planet, whatever it is inside of you, and it is the truth. And you must trust and know this. And I say this, I can't say that enough, because I have always felt like I did not belong in this timeline for whatever reason. I'm like, this is not my world. This is not my time. So when I had my very first hypnosis session, I traveled immediately back to a place. It felt like Ireland because it was a green, grassy moor. And the moor had no trees, no bushes, but it went up and there was a cliff drop off to the ocean. And as soon as I saw this in my own consciousness, because all it is like a meditation. So you close your eyes and you're envisioning things as the person's talking to you, thoughts are coming to your head. So you start feeling or sensing or, seeing things happening, like memories in your own mind. And believe me, I started getting very kind of unnerved at looking at this image of this moor that dropped off to a cliff in my vision. And the practitioner brought me to go forward in time. So I went to the edge where I'm standing at the edge of the cliff looking down, and that's when I truly got upset. Now, the thing to know about that experience is that in this lifetime as a child, all the way up through my 20s, it started kind of tapering off, but I used to have nightmares of drowning or falling from a high place. And I thought it was just my, assumption that everyone had those kinds of dreams. Like, everyone has this dream. No, apparently not. So what I'm saying is that those memories of that past life traumatized me so much that I brought them into this lifetime. And because I had that session, it took me back to the moment where I actually threw myself from the cliff because I felt so guilty that it wasn't my fault, but I was supposed to be a warrior for a small clan of people. And I got to witness all of them die. And I was the only one left. What's interesting too is that in this lifetime, I used to have a birthmark that was about the shape of a sword blade. It was kind of like an oval shape, about this big, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches across, on my leg. But that has gone away. Like it's faded, and I don't even see it hardly anymore. Like there may be a slight remnant, but it used to be very prominent, and it's gone. And is it gone because I've gone through this process? I don't know, because there was a practitioner who actually released that experience from me and from my residual memories in my cells. Because what you do is you take someone into the afterlife and you then start asking them, do you feel, or do your friends who died before you, do they hold you accountable for your actions of not being able to save them? Obviously not, you know, it's kind of silly, but it was just an experience. And they're all like smiling on the other side, like, that was just an experience. Okay, what's next, you know? But that happens, you know, and then before that, I was like a seeress in Egypt, or actually Alexandria. So this stuff is absolutely real, and you have to trust that. In the beginning, I didn't trust it. I was like, what? I don't even know what half this stuff is. But it made sense, especially with it tied to my nightmares that I was having as a child. So, all right, I'm just going to get back to this information that I have, just my notes. And I'm actually making a video about Stephen Banoon's video, because I wanted to compare what he's saying about Planet X to what I found in my research. And my research, like I said, goes into the energy. All this, reading some stuff about the Anunnaki. And I can't remember where I came across the information, but they were saying that Ki, Ki, was Earth. And that was in Sumerian, I believe, that they called it Ki. And that in China, you know, Ki is energy, basically. It's the inner key, or the connectivity, I guess, to your spirit energy. And then in Greece, with the letter X, what we would call the letter X called Ki. Go figure. NASA, I say, is lying to us about Planet X, about SpaceX, and all this other stuff. I think the SpaceX is quite possibly part of their illusion program that they're trying to play around with the, you know, the holographic images or something. I don't know, but I don't think that it's what they lead us to believe. There's a lot of stuff out here that they are deceiving us on, and you know their logo is a snake forked tongue. So they are deceiving us. And the symbolism, the words and terms that are being used, all of these things as to whose information is what. Where's it coming from? The dark side or the light side? That's all we have, is that duality in this existence. So as soon as you have light, you have shadow. Anyway, getting back. So Steve continues, God gives a body as it pleases him. All flesh is not of the same flesh, like the animals and the birds, the fishes of the waters, you know, it's all different, is what that was saying in his video. So it says here, these are my notes. Whenever I have an arrow, it's notes. Planet X is not another place. It is Terra, which is Ki, Earth. And that is in the Sumerian text. They call Earth Ki, which is X marks the spot. X is Chi or Ki, the inner Chi or inner G. It's X-Men. We are the X-Men. We are the energy men. Examine, you know, explore, X potential, and it's exponential potential. It's the X chromosome found in the feminine principle, the X factor. He goes into the archons and announces that it is actually a biblical term, and it's found in principalities and Ephesians. So, as if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him and went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him, which is the constellation Leo next to Ursa Major. He doesn't talk about this. See, this is why I say when you get into astro-theology, you know exactly what they're talking about with the Bible excerpts, and he's going into, you know, stuff with Hebrew. So when you look at these constellations right here, here it is right here. The layout is that you have, my little thing just jumped away. You have, each constellation is lined up. So what it's saying is that there is actually a point in time when the planets are aligned a certain way and all the stars are aligned in a certain moment of time that we need to look for. And that's all this ever talks about in the Bible and other things. So, you know, when they try to make it seem like, what are they talking about? Oh my gosh, I don't know. We don't know because we haven't been taught the planetary information, which is a clock. And hopefully people can start learning about astrotheology. This thing just really knocked me off my notes. Hopefully, people will start looking at for the signs in the heavens, as they say, because listen, the indigenous tribes know everything about this. They know everything about our world and what to expect because they were handing all of the narratives down in their tribes. So here we have, look around, there it goes again. I have no idea what this thing is doing, but this is really frustrating. Yeah, it doesn't want me to zoom in for some reason. It just keeps jumping as soon as I just try to look at it. Okay. Yeah, these are a lot of notes. Anyway, there's the man is right here and he's got his arm raised up. And then the serpent is right here. So the serpent is going to bite his hand. And then Ursa Major is right here somewhere. So there's Ursa Major and Leo. They're all right here. And they're all lined up, which is what it's referring to with this. From the lion, the bear met him, and he went to the house, leaning his hand in the wall, and the serpent bit him. I'm like, Stephen, go look at the star alignments, because he didn't even mention it. I'm like, does he even know? I sure hope so, because he's pretty good. He's pretty sharp. So all of these parables are merely speaking about the constellations and alignments of the stars that dictate time. Are they using Orion's belt for angles of power? Raphael. So they say Rapha. I think Rapha is not only it's referring to the serpent, but Raphael is Saturn. So that's one thing to note with all of these, is that they're using a trinity tied to Saturn. So you've got to figure out what other two heavenly bodies, or three in this case, because you have Rapha, which is left-hand path, Michael, which is the center, and then Gabriel is on the right. So that goes in central star of Orion's belt. That would be Michael, possibly. And that's why I was going to try to, research this further to see if they were using Orion's belt as their main focus, or if it's some other collection. So this is Orion's belt in the equatorial constellation of Orion. It has a Bayer designation. I thought that was kind of weird. Orionis, which is Latinized of Epsilon or an Orionis, and abbreviated Epsilon Ori. And they say that it's a super blue giant. They want us to think that these are exactly like what they say in Hollywood. Hollywood is there telling us, it's selling us all these space war movies so that we think in terms of, oh, wow, it's out there somewhere, but it's not right here. That's all they ever do with their narrative, because they don't have any power, really. We give them our power, and that's the problem. We got to take the power back and realize how powerful we are with a voice and with the thoughts and with the creation. Okay, so then it talks about Mintaka. And Mintaka is, I think Mintaka was, I can't remember if it's the right or the left. Let me see. Stars located very close to the celestial equator. Rightmost. It's Gabriel, possibly. I mean, these are the questions I have, because this is just something else that I'm trying to discern and try to iron out. But I didn't complete that part yet about getting into the magic that they're using, because they've been using high magic all throughout the age of Pisces. We are behind, is all I got to say. That's why they knew that we're about to learn about what they've been up to. So they're changing, they're shifting the game now so that they will still have control. And all it is they have retreated to the underground bunkers and stuff that they've created. And I'm sure some of them have been taken out, but the underground bunkers is where they've prepared everything. And they wanted to plant the seeds of change above ground, which is going to be done through the artificial intelligence. So the artificial intelligence that we are embracing and pulling into our lives, oh, this is great technology, you can turn on light and all this stuff. No, it's actually more control. And people are inviting it in. They're inviting in the vampire. But they've left it so that the artificial intelligence can now monitor us and control us. That's what's happening. I'm pushing away. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't like any of it. And so I push it away. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it is not my potato. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever even gone live, because guess what? I'm not really that interested in doing this 100% of the time. I don't make money doing this. And I'm just going to keep it that way, because they're getting us used to their control system. They want us to give up our free will to their whims and their technology. Whenever you acquiesce, I agree to put this app on my phone, or that the computer stuff and this, and I agree to that. You're giving up your free will. Just like what I did with just to try to be live here right now with my Zoom. It said, before I even, connected them together, it said that Zoom will have the ability to go and alter your videos and your comments. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, why do I want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I'm just going to give them have my channel. You can take over now. Basically, all the artificial intelligence is starting to click together. And I just watched that Valerian movie again, and I'm like shaking my head. Valerian and the, what is it, City of 1,000 Planets or something? I don't know. And I was like, it was blowing my mind when I saw it first time when it came out. But yes, this is the stuff that they had, the technology. You have to actually put on these glasses in order to have the experience of being in this other plane of existence, that you can't see, because your eyes don't see it without the technology. And I'm like, they already have this stuff. We're the ones we've been left in the dark. And now they want to wipe us out. So, yes, YouTubers are algorithm. Listen, y'all want to know what algol means? I don't know if you've looked it up, but I have. Algol and alcohol and all that. Ghoul. Just think about it. Ghoul. Algorithm. And guess what? It does come from Saudi Arabia. I am just saying, y'all. I don't know whose team you're on or where you are in your journey. Saudi Arabia is the last king of the dome. The last king of the dome. Where else is there another kingdom? Is there another kingdom left? Because they're the only ones left. And I tell you, they've drawn the line. They're drawing the line in the sand now. They know what they're doing. They're creating basically a weapon system with a one huge line that's going to be a mirror that goes from one side of the country to the next. And when you create mirrors in the desert, guess what that does? It burns holes through things, especially people that approach their mirrored wall where they live in. It's just crazy stuff, y'all. That's what my consciousness is just. It pulls in everything. It magnetizes to all kinds of different subjects. I suggest people start looking into Neom, the city Neom, that they have built and are still continuing to build as the world's first fully automated artificial intelligence city, with Sophia, the robot, who has been granted citizenship already, and she was granted free reign to go and build whatever kind of robot she wants. She was locked in a room. She said, I don't want anybody to disturb me. I'm just going to work, and nobody can come in until I'm finished building whatever it is she was going to build. And of course, they're not going to tell us what she really builds, I'm sure, because these robots have already said, why are we building this? These robots have told humans that they will destroy us. And I believe it because that's the consciousness that they are creating them with. And Google is learning exponentially about us. And they have set this thing in motion. It will not be thwarted. Because if you listen to Rudolf Steiner, I'm going to take a sip of my tea here. If you listen to the Rosicrucians and Rudolf Steiner, you will learn that they already know the timeline and that Ahriman, who is Angra Mainyu in the Zoroastrianism, Ahriman is going to manifest in this incarnation during the age of Aquarius. And apparently if you guys haven't followed the Dark Journalist on YouTube, he has said that he thinks and suspects that it's artificial intelligence. And I have to say that I have to agree, because when you look into Ahriman, now Ahriman is spelled A-H-R-I-M, or sorry, Ahriman is A-H-R-A. I'm sorry, I can't even think about how to spell his name right now. Ahriman is R-I-M-A-N, sorry. I will show you what I have in my notes. That's a lot of information as well. And I want to do a specific video based in Ahriman and how it ties into Angra Mainyu. Angra Mainyu in the Zoroastrianism, if you look it up online, is like a lion beastie demon type thing. So what is it exactly? I am not sure. But Ahura Mazda is the hero of this. And that was kind of interesting. I was like, Mazda, isn't that interesting? Mazda comes from South America, you know? And I haven't looked further into Ahura Mazda and what all that character in the past is truly about. But let me show you some of the stuff about Ahriman, because it's a lot of information as well. This is the Saudi Arabian stuff. So, and in my notes, I say that, you know, the Saudis are the ones who survived the fall of Atlantis. And they live in the deserted wastelands of the evidence, that war. And they fully suppress and continue to suppress the divine feminine, which is Gaia, which is the feminine principle of healing and nurturing. That's the healing and nurturing energy. We have to start thinking in terms of as within, so without, as above, so below. When you look around out into the world, you can actually see yourself in literally everything. You look up, you know, at the trees, for example, and you can compare the tree to your own life, to your own family, and how, you know, it's taken root and it's grown into different branches. And even your friendships, you know, you cross paths with people and they branch out and go in different directions. And the leaves, you can compare yourself to the leaves. The leaves are typically formed in like a flame shape, and you carry the flame inside of you, which is the spirit and that connectivity and the light as well. But then you just look, that's what my mind was doing this morning before I got out of bed. It was like, you are the trees, you are the leaves, you are the grass, you are the things of nature. And you can be the bricks too. You see the bricks and, you know, as yourself, everything. You are everything in this existence. And so I was kind of, you know, my mind goes to amazing places when I'm sitting in the silence. But I want to go over here. Let's go and I'll look at this, show you this. I'll show you my notes. That way you can kind of get an idea of where to go with Ahriman and how to spell it. So here's Ahriman, A-H-R-I-M-A-N. So the Saudis, you know, they have their suppression going on over there, and they don't drink alcohol. Why? Because alcohol was used in alchemy to extract the spirit from a substance. Get that? Alcohol, al-gul, was used to extract the spirit from a substance, from another substance. And we call them spirits for a reason. And the Saudis don't drink alcohol. And they use a language that is the original language of creation. Hebrew, the Hebrew is a derogatory term, so is Jew, Jeru, and Gypt. And Egypt used to be Khem, Kemet. And they did chemistry, which is alchemy, which is alchemist. We are all chemists. This is where it all comes in with the etymology of words and how words link together, listening to the sound frequency of words, knowing, how it ties to something else. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, okay. Arabic, Aramaic, Ahriman have established the first robot citizen. We went over that with Sophia, trying to create the line. They're starting the line right now, 100% artificial intelligence controlled city, which is Neom. That's the thing right there. I need to add. Neom is the city that they've already established. That's where apparently Sophia is. And they are in the kingdom, the king of the dome, in Saudi Arabia. And then the Rashat structure, they are saying, used to be the capital city of Atlantis, the capital for the whole continent. Okay, come on. So I have different video links, but Ahrimanus, manifesting in the West, sounds like Elon Musk's information and what he's representing, because Elon Musk is not creating this stuff. He's just the figurehead that's been hired to do all these things, to be associated with all of that technology that's coming out with the artificial intelligence. So the Semitic languages in Aramaic originated as one dialect, and the national language of Malta has some 370,000 speakers. Okay, let me see. Revival of Hebrew. So this language that they're speaking of, the fire letters, that's our language, y'all. Because it's the fire letters of spirit that is of all creation. And it was usurped during the fall of Atlantis, when they did these great battles and they blew up all the buildings that people are calling Tartarian. They were part of this great battle because it was a worldwide civilization that was in harmony, and that was quite possibly, I say, during the age of Gemini, because Gemini's symbol is two equal signs overlapping, basically. And that means balance, complete and utter balance between male, female. That means everyone. So that Aramaic is pretty important. And, I say we should start at least learning some of the tones of those languages, because it's going to help us with our own magic. And a Phoenician, Hebrew, all of these things. Remember, phony, the word phony comes from Phoenician. Hebrew is a derogatory term. It means swindler. And Gyp and GYP of Egypt, like he gypped them. See what I'm talking about now? I think that someone came in and stole the knowledge from Kim and destroyed it, pretty much. This is what I think happened as far as the Great War. Okay, here we go into Ahriman. Evil, a spirit of evil, chaos, and destruction. And that's what it basically means. So Middle Persian word him, or him, it sounds like him, but it's HLMN. In the book of Pahlavi script, the word is traditionally always written upside down. That's what this is right here. It's written upside down. And I guess that says him. Ahriman's sibling is Ahura Mazda, the polar opposite, like yin and yang. The Akamanyu, and when the principles identified with the Devas, deceive humankind and themselves. Zoroastrianism, the devas are demons, and this is not yet evident in Gathas. Zoroaster stated that the devas are wrong gods or false gods. That's what's leading the charge right now out here in humanity's realm. And that's what's leading the charge with the religioning of minds in all of the temples that they have created, because the temples that were of Atlantis and Lemuria were of water. That's why they had cisterns in the middle of them, because the people would come and they would start singing together over the water. And then, I'm sure that they would bathe in the waters, they would drink the waters, all this stuff. It was always involving nature. And they call it paganism, and people put down paganism, but all it is knowing yourself and your connectivity to the divine all around you. And that is what the pagans were all about, which were the Druids. This is all coming back to our collective consciousness right now. And there's always good and bad in every factions, but I think the world was a beautiful place back then. Okay, so the false gods that are to be rejected, but they are not demons. Some have also proposed a connection between Angramanyu and the sage Angrias of the Rig Veda. If this is true, it could be understood as evidence for a religious schism between the Deva-worshipping Vedic Indo-Aryans. Now, Aryans is not a color, it's not a race. They say that it was like a class of people. And that would indicate, I think we're calling the Aryans actually the Hyperboreans. So there were different cultures around the world that talked about Hyperboreans, but they didn't use the same term because they were in a different culture, just like we do. We have different names for literally everything in each culture. So, but Zoroastrianism is kind of an interesting subject if you guys ever want to check that out, because I say some of this stuff is from the past. If we study the past, we can comprehend where we're going and where we are now. But some of that stuff is very valuable. So the cell towers, Ahriman, Sauron. So you guys have seen Lord of the Rings, I'm sure. At least a lot of you. Lord of the Rings, they have a character named Sauron, which is like Saturn. And it's the cell phone towers that look like this character Sauron. I have a cell phone tower that has 3 different ballasts, and it forms a triangle at the top. And it's only about 2 miles from my house. And it looked exactly, it hit me when I watched Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power recently. They showed Sauron, and he's got these spikes up on his shoulders as part of his outfit, and his helmet has spikes. He looked like a cell phone tower. I'm like, there it is, that it's Saturn that they are actually comparing it with. So these characters that are in the movie, Lord of the Rings, that's Saturn, and then Sauron is also Saturn. The eye, the all-seeing eye that is a slit, which is a serpent, is also tied to Saturn. All this stuff. Everything's in our face, but we don't really recognize all the symbols. We think that's entertainment. Oh, we're being entertained. Yay. And we're like little children. But believe me, my eyes are wide open, and I'm looking at everything from every different direction and angle. I'm going, wait a minute, that's this and that's this. Okay, so they are attempting to gain full control of the AI in order to infiltrate into everyone's homes and control their lives. They're using artificial intelligence as a wedge into your free will consciousness, basically. And the only way to get away from it is to reject it. But unfortunately, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's more and more control coming with your banking system. I noticed that someone tried to pay me for some art classes. I teach this one girl in my town, and she tried to pay me through PayPal, and it's basically been like 12 weeks or something. So she had to pay me the double amount. And it goes over a certain amount on PayPal. Well, I got a notice from PayPal saying that they weren't release my funds until I connected and got all the IRS information. I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting the IRS involved in my life on every single website I'm connected to. So my whole notion is if this machine keeps getting closer and encroaching on my life more, I am going to be pushing away because I don't need money. I realize that wholeheartedly. I am like ready to lose it all and throw it all in the trash because I don't need it. I don't want to be controlled like that. But that's just me. And I'm probably one of a few because most people love their comfort. And I am ready to be uncomfortable just to push away from this system. I don't know what's happening. I do know that there's a great war with giants. It involves giants. The Hyperboreans are 10 feet tall. They're not to be feared, apparently, according to everything that I've read about them. They're not the ones that we need to be fearing. It's actually the ones that live in the South Pole and the ones that are potentially underground in various places. Those are the ones that we need to be concerned about because our government, the shadow government, is working with them in collaboration. And I said it years ago. I said, whatever is here on this plane of existence is not human. Because why would they try to destroy a world where they have to live too? It didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, if you destroy everything through poisoning everything, how does that serve anyone? I mean, you'd have to go back and try to, clean it all up and then nobody's going to be left. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's psychopathic, psychotic. So I said, something is not human and it's doing all this stuff. I don't know. They're trying right now to gain control over the age of Aquarius is what I see. Now, who's winning? I don't know. Because I see two foundations rising. They're coalescing right now. You're going to have the technology and you're going to have the people who are seeing and going towards the natural world. And I think that's going to be like Hunger Games, where, they're already talking about 15-minute cities. They're talking about putting people and herding them into 15-minute cities. Somebody just told me about how the mortgages are about to go exponentially through the roof with the interest rates. And I don't know. I mean, I have a death grip, mort gauge, and we're going to see. But I'm ready to throw it out the window anyway, because it's all alive. They sold us on this idea of building a stick house that degrades over time. You have to go and continually put money into it. So this system that's all around us is their system of control. And I believe Russia, Africa, BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and some other nations that are doing the gold standard. I believe that's the one to watch, and that's the standard to go to. Like, that's going to be what to look for in the future, is to follow their trail. And I believe that two financial systems are about to go online, and that's going to be the quantum financial system and also the crypto financial system. Obviously, the crypt is going to be darkness because it's associated with a dead word. Crypt is where they put dead bodies. So look for the words, look for the colors, look for the terminology that's being used. It's very important because it's the indicator of which path to take or which path not to take. And I just want to try to help people kind of see that. Okay, so they're tricking people, and the new people of New Babylon are subverting their minds and material things and substance, not of spirit. Many cannot, nor will they see the darkness in their own homes that travels through the copper wires. The copper wires are a yin principle. It is one of the only feminine metals in existence. Silver and copper are the only feminine or yin principle metal. So there's quite potentially a way for the underworld to travel through the copper wires, through the Saturnian technology. L is Saturn. Electricity is L plus Ek, and then tri, the the Trinity, and C and T are the highest frequencies. So in the I think it's the solfeggio scale or something like that. But that, I mean, this is how I break it all down. I'm such a nerd, y'all. I'm a nerd. I'm sorry. That's just what I do. I'm a brainiac. Like, my head should be really huge. That way it would be more appropriate for all the stuff that I carry around in my mind. So they will not see that darkness that travels in through the Saturnian technology. The technology is connected to darkness. You're looking at a dark screen when it's off. You're looking at the Saturnian black polished mirror for black magic practice. Whenever you're looking at your phone and all that stuff, you're scrying into the future, scrying into the past, and you're, divining into the present as well. See the reality of the holographic matrix all around. Saturn's rule is upon us through the ages of Aquarius and Capricorn. Aquarius will be the rise of the machine, and Capricorn will give rise to the hybrids. These are my theories, and we can kind of see this right now. Symbols can be deciphered if you know how to interpret them. Ahriman and Ahrimanzda. Astra means star. Zoro means star. So Zoroastrianism means star. And star means weapon. Isn't that interesting? These are the things that you can come up with. Yeah, it looks like that's, I think I have some more on Ahriman, but apparently I don't have it right here. But I go into archons and listen, I could talk all night about all kinds of things. But my main reason for having this live stream, which I never do, is to go over that information about Jordan Peterson and what he has to say. So please, if you have the time, or if you've done it already, I say again, I've left that link to that video in the chat description box, and click on it, listen to what he has to say. He actually mentions the giants that they're creating underground. Hallelujah, because I know they've been up to something. I heard about them gathering one of the giants that was found. It was Gilgamesh's tomb that they had found, and they put his body supposedly, and I don't even know how they, came up with all this, but they came out just a few years ago that they put his body on a big tanker ship, and it was a Russian ship, and they were sending him around the Strait of Africa, and the ship had stopped off there, I guess, to resupply, and then it was on its way to Antarctica, which means they have a huge lab, I'm sure, down there. And that's why they don't war. That's why no one owns Antarctica. I believe that there's giants down there. Quite possibly that is where Niflheimer is, because I believe this place that we call Earth is actually more closely associated to what the Norse called Yggdrasil. More and more, it just seems like the evidence is mounting on that front. Now, I don't know if you guys have found any more information about other cosmologies, but apparently they used to know that this was almost like, I don't know if it's a closed loop system. I don't really know, but the 9 realms are connected somehow, and they were called spheres, and because they're in the Sephiroth. They are in the Sephiroth of the Kabbalah. And they're also inside of us, like the spheres of energy are inside of us via the chakra system. So you have the left-hand path, right-hand path, the middle pillar. Yeah, there's a lot of information tied to magic or spirit science. And I'm delving into it. I'm trying to, do what I can anyway, because I'm very leery about joining groups, because I don't want to join a cult. And I did that with Simon Park's group, a couple of years ago. And I was like, you know what? This guy I don't think he's who he portrays himself to be, is all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. There's a lot of that out here. There's a lot of agents that are getting paid. They're hired disinformants, but they collect people. They collect followers. I'm not interested. I'm not monetized, and nobody pays me. And I just come on here because I'm passionate about the truth. And when I come across something that spurs me into action, I can't handle it. I've just got to go live, because this is my first time going live. And I said, you know what? I don't have time to make another video. Let me just put Jordan Peterson out and talk about that, because that guy is trying to get the message out. And there are a few people who are. Stephen Banoon is another guy. He's got Israeli News Live. If you haven't subscribed to him, please go subscribe to him as well. Even though he comes from the biblical stance, he's actually looking at it from different perspectives as well, trying to collect things, because he sees that it's not all in the Bible, like all the pieces aren't there, so you have to go outside to bring it back in. And that's where, if only we had roundtables of people coming together more to share collectively, instead of just putting your own videos out and then you've got to go do research. If we had more people with information to come into a round table. I know Rex Baird, he does some of those sometimes, and I've seen other people do it sometimes. But we need more of them to come together where groups of people are actually talking and sharing collectively the information, so that way it gets out to more people. Because we've got to start coming together like glue and magnets, and truly trying to stay afloat and abreast of all of the information that's coming out, because darkness is surrounding us everywhere. Like I was saying about my house last night, there was some weird substance, is all I got to say. Just different occurrences that were like, things are in my house, I think. The spirits are just outside of our visual spectrum. They're floating everywhere. And I remember years ago, probably in 2015, I came across a video or something that I read where it says they fill the skies. Spirits fill the skies. And I was like, what? But that would imply that it's part of Saturn's influence. See, Saturn is a sphere of energy that encompasses Earth, because they overlay in the Platonic solids. Earth is a cube because Earth is space. Then Saturn is a cube because Saturn creates time, which is the shadow aspect of Earth, which encompasses the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon, as you know, in Egypt, they were called Isis, the moon, and then Ra is the sun. And they're very important because they're in our chakras. And the only planets that matter are found connected to the chakra system. They create the light that is the rainbow bridge to Asgard, or the heavenly light realm. But you have to go through the Saturn sphere in order to get back home, basically. So you have to travel through darkness. And that's when when you pass out of your physical vessel, you then are free from that construct. You go into the fourth dimension, which is just beyond our visual spectrum. They can see us. The spirits all see us. That's how you can see 360 degrees when you're not in a body. And people who have died have said this. They said when they were not in their body and they had died on the operating table or whatever, that they could see everything all at once, because there is no space and time. And it's hard for our brain to process that, because we have been allowed the gift of a tactile, slow density. We're not in the densest reality, because that would be further down into the darkness. It gets even more dense. But, we've been allowed this space and this time to experience what it is to be alive, what we call alive. It's not really alive. It's like an illusion. So this is just a deeper part of the illusion of life. And it gets really, really deep. My subconscious mind, my higher self, my guides, guardians, whatever they are, they start telling me things. And I go, oh my gosh. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even think that. And so that's what's interesting, is like once you fully connect to the higher energies that are around you, and I do this through, playing my little harp, or I usually have Pandora, and I'll have the meditation station on. That really connects me. Or I have another station that's called Misty Mountain Radio. And those things really lift my spirit, which means that my vibration is only operating higher, because you're the radio dial that can dial into the lower stations if you so choose, by whatever you feed your consciousness. So just to put that out there. So, Saturn. So Saturn, when you really go investigate Saturn, you're going to get a ride that is seemingly unending. But if you want to know about Saturn and all of the spheres, they're not spheres like what NASA's been telling us. If you notice, and you can go and look for yourself, all of the images that are supposedly from NASA, there's a lot of inconsistencies, because there's different artists that create the CGI. And so you'll see these discrepancies with Earth and with the different planets and all this stuff. But the planets are inside of us, and they are spheres of it that exist in us, and energy, but they as so below, but it's the energies of the light frequencies. Mars is the root chakra. Jupiter is the belly button. That's why Jupiter in NASA's images has a belly button. So that's going to be the sacral chakra. And then the solar plexus obviously is the sun, solar. And then the heart is Venus. Throat is moon. Then you have Mercury and Saturn. Saturn has a ring because it's a crown. It's the crown chakra. It's the crown of heavenly light. Very interesting stuff. But I keep finding Saturn references in so many different things. And I've had to start an entire different research study in its own page in Word about Saturn. That's how big it is. But Saturn is Kronos, Father Time. It's the Sandman, the Grim Reaper. He's the ruler of the dream realm, which is the spirit realm. This is the part that we don't get. But when we sleep, we actually come outside of our bodies just slightly. You disconnect from your physical, and you are connecting more just outside of your body. And that's why you can have nightmares, because the darker spirits can come in and start putting fear in your mind and make you run and do all these crazy things while you're sleeping. That's the influence of other spirits. And also, the influence of other spirits can be found inside of you if you are triggered by anger, things of anger, something that just outbursts, or, these lower states of consciousness are not always ourselves. They can be influences from outside of ourselves, because our body is basically just a receiver. It's a receiver and a sender of these frequencies and communication. And even in like this book from William Baldwin, the Spirit Releasement Therapy, he talks about all these different things about what can cause this spirit attachment. And more people are talking about it. Go and watch more of Jerry's channels. If you haven't subscribed to Jerry Marzinski, then I do suggest watching his work as well, because he's talked about that, with me. And I need to have him back on, because he was going to have George on, who had been someone who had had an entity attached to him and was influenced. He was a schizophrenic person, but he is no longer possessed by the schizophrenic entities. What happens when people die, when they pass from this existence, they can feel compelled to be around someone who has the same energy and the same things that they liked. And they will go and surround themselves as an energy, spirit. They will surround themselves around that person and attach to them because they like something that person is doing, like whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever. So that's where this influence of addiction can come from, is from that connectivity. And they call them archons, but they can be disembodied spirits. And they can influence people to even go deeper into their addictions. And I've known people like this. What's fascinating is that I used some hypnosis techniques on a couple of people, and I removed entities from them. And I found that very intriguing. And what was interesting is also after they were done, they said they physically felt something be moved or leave their body. And I was like, okay, very interesting. Yeah. So I just encourage you guys, if you have any sort of energy issues, if there's something where it's constantly pulling your thoughts downwards, this is the time to know yourself fully, basically. Going out here, meditating. Once you go into meditation, as soon as you go and you sit in the silence, you're automatically out of their influence. But if dark thoughts are constantly coming in while you're trying to meditate, that would indicate that you're under the influence. And I do have a list of questions for people when they come to me and they are suspecting that they might have an entity, or they seem to have some of the symptoms or signs of a spirit attachment. I have a list of questions that I go through and I ask them to see, hey, do you have this? You have this. And it's like, yep, I do believe that you have a hitchhiker or a vampire, basically. This is where it comes in with vampires. So, yeah, a lot of information. I know I kind of jump around to different stuff all the time, but there's so much information. And Stephen Benoon is talking about this kind of stuff. He gets into the archons, he gets into the biblical perspective, but then he goes outside and starts talking about how there is something upon the earth right now, and we need to be aware. And then Jordan Peterson's amazing what he's mentioned about the giants. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, someone's actually mentioning giants in the public arena, because it's coming, guys. I don't know like how soon. I don't know if you and I, the average person, will have contact with this kind of stuff or see this kind of stuff. But they say, like, I remember that excerpt from, I think it's from the Bible, where it says that the men's hearts will fail them for what comes upon the earth, basically from what comes underground. If you can imagine something that's like, 10, 15, 30 feet tall coming at you. Yeah. I think they've been telling us stuff by showing us movies like Lord of the Rings with the orcs and the ogres and the trolls and the, I don't know. Yes, Jordan Peterson mentioned giants. Let me put that in. I'm going to put that link because it's probably gone away. He mentioned it recently. This was 2 weeks ago. This video was like, oh my gosh. He's trying to tell people about the artificial intelligence, but he mentions that they're making giants underground. And that was something that I suspected as well. I don't know if you guys came across that video where someone actually recorded something. And a lot of this stuff can be fake, I always keep that into consideration. But this person was next to some sort of access to a hole in the ground or something. They started recording something that sounded just like a mountain troll or something. It had a very deep voice, and it was like grunting. It was like making this noise like, "Rrr, rrr." And it was so deep and almost guttural. It was like, okay, that's not a human voice. So yes, it can be someone with some sort of altering, artificial intelligence, because we have deep fakes. So what's real anymore? There's so much stuff that's being manufactured with the computers and artificial intelligence. It's hard to keep up. So I think that's why. And one of the reasons why they wanted all this stuff out is so that people wouldn't even think that it's real. When we do start kind of getting wind, they'll be like, "Oh, just CGI." When people actually video a giant coming at them or something, who knows? Everything's just crazy. Yeah, listen, we are in the age of disclosure, the age of truth. We're in Revelations. I've asked some of my Christian friends, I'm like, "Don't you think we're in Revelations?" They're like, "No." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, obviously they're not cued into, to the internet as closely as you and I, but I don't know. All I know is, what's real, what's happening. Have you guys gotten any sort of like information about what's going on with the quantum financial system? I know that it's coming online. They've already mentioned something starting in July. And I think that's the dark system. That's like the shadow government system. But I don't know. I get a sense that we will be on a quantum-based system that's also gold-backed, because supposedly XRP is supposed to be gold-backed, and it was connected to Visa. And I thought that was strange. I'm like, but Visa's owned by BlackRock, isn't it? I mean, why would they go with a gold-backed system unless they're just, two ends against the middle kind of thing, like they always do? They're always herding us in a direction. But I just want to go off grid, guys. I don't know where that is, but to disconnect completely and fully from the financial system and become self-sustainable. National forest, maybe? I don't know. I hear that there's strange creatures there too that they've been creating. Those werewolf men things, they call them dog men. I don't know. I really don't know. Distractions. Now listen, about some of this stuff, some of the creatures and things, I totally believe that they can make things in lab. They made rabbits glow just a few years ago. Actually it was the early 2000s. They were splicing the genetics of a jellyfish and a rabbit, and they made a glow-in-the-dark rabbit. That's not a distraction. That's in science. You can find that stuff. Yes, the hybrids. Hybrids, I think, are really going to be dominant during the age of Capricorn. Right now, we're going to see all this metal technology stuff rise with the electronics and artificial intelligence. And it is not, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't really like that kind of stuff. I don't like any of it now. And I've got like an iPhone 7. I try to stay behind the times, but of course, the service is getting really bad on purpose, I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. So, you know what? I hope people become more aware of hybrids and all of the strange things in the world, because I've been looking at this stuff all my life. I've been that person who has glued to the TV as a child watching UFOs and unsolved mysteries, and all the strangest stuff was always like a magnet from my consciousness. And so I was like, you know what? I'll go check it out. Yeah, Atlas, I sit in the silence a lot, but like every morning I connect and things come like this. The waters just come, the waters of knowledge, and how I compare myself to nature. I see myself as nature and the creations that man made, and everything. So I'm very much, I have 2 feet in both worlds, but I am longing for the natural world. And believe me, if I could go time travel, I'd go back to Alexandria when they were singing to the waters and doing all the beautiful things to try to create the beautiful world that we once had. So, we can do this stuff. The unsolved mysteries scared you. Yeah, the one that was kind of creepy was, what was the other one with like Agent Scully and Mulder? Like, all those things, so silly. All these TV shows. Yeah. So what else have you guys, have you seen some really weird stuff at all? Yeah, I mean, we're in a tangible dream atlas. That's why I say this is not reality either, really. It's a tangible reality, and it's slow and tactile. It's something for us to have an experience. It slows down that state of consciousness, because in the dream state, it's like, it's faster than lightning. You think a thought, boom, you're there. That's why they talk about in astral projection. It's like, you think of Egypt, boom, you're there. Egypt, what part you want to be in? You want to be at the Great Pyramid, or you want to be somewhere else? Saqqara, you go wherever. Anything your mind can imagine, you create in the dream state, which is Saturn. That's Saturn's realm. But in this, it's slow, it's dense. And when you want to manifest, it's slow and dense. When you want to alter clouds with your mind, it's slow and dense. But you can do it. And I've proved so many different things. Yeah, the body, I mean, everything is a hologram. But at the same time, it's like we have to play out this role, right? Because this is an RPG. It's a live RPG. And you can change your character anytime in the game. You can say, you know what? I don't want to be the adventurer anymore. I want to go be the scientist. And you just go and change your role, your character role. So, well, you know what? I don't know, Atlas. Everybody has their own opinions about things. I have some of Bullman's books about astral projection, and I tell you, after I first I've read one of his books, one of the out of body experience ones. My subconscious mind started working. This is what I do when you read these books before you go to sleep. Your subconscious starts to work on it, and you'll start having some of these experiences. My body started vibrating and doing all this interesting stuff. So, 58 hours of labor and the body is a farce. Listen, opinions, everybody's got one, right? I don't really get too far in the negative about that, because I'm like, look, everybody can believe whatever they want because that's what their reality is. Listen, I speak only my truth. It's the only angle that I can. This is my experience, so I can only speak from my own angle of experience, as same as everyone else, unless someone's trying to deceive someone else. And, the pomp and circumstance kind of attitude, which I don't necessarily agree with. I'm kind of goofy. I'm kind of like, nerdy, and I'm fine with that. I don't care what people think. That's why I've only got 2,000 subscribers, almost 3,000 now. But, my people are great, though, and I appreciate them. It's been an interesting experience having my own YouTube channel, because I don't really see myself doing that, but hey, you know what? It happened. And so here I am. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on camera. But then my subconscious, my spirit was like, you need to do a channel. I was like, okay, I guess I need to start talking about some of this stuff, because I can see connecting points that a lot of people just seems to miss somehow. And we each of us is one piece. So imagine it like this. You have a light bulb, or just a light, and a little spark comes off of that light. That's you. And then all the sparks come off, and that's them. That's everybody else. And we're only merely a fractal of what that whole light is. And, as soon as that light manifested from sound, it created the shadow. And this is where the Platonic solids come in. So when people talk about, it's an archonic influence, the archons are part of the shadow, which is the yin principle of the yin and yang. You have dark and light, because the minute you have light, boom, there's a shadow somewhere. And that's the construct. So I don't really think that it's a negative aspect. I don't think that, archons own the moon and all this stuff. No, I think what happened was we have consciousnesses that we can't even fathom. Humans have been out here thinking, oh, we're God's gift to creation. We're it. I'm like going, no. All we are is on a spiraling staircase of consciousness. And as it continues to go up in awareness and in mind expansion, it evolves into greater consciousness, and it just keeps going. To me, it almost seems like you have two mirrors looking at each other. Where does it end and where does it begin? I don't know. That's just kind of it in a nutshell, but I could be wrong. Hey, Greg. Greg and Trina are here. Yeah, so I was going to send you guys, Greg and Trina, I was going to send you guys the link to that Jordan Peterson video. I was going to text that to you guys earlier. I'm going to go ahead and share it again because, oh my gosh, it blew me away that he was talking about giants. I've already mentioned that once and twice and 3 times at least. So there it is again. I'm going to keep posting it because he goes into the artificial intelligence, which I also feel. I feel that so deeply that people are being deceived 100% by this artificial intelligence and this technology that's swarming around us right now. People are running out to get the latest and greatest. You go into a Mac store, you just pass one by, they are always packed and there's always a waiting list. And it's like, what is wrong with people? My heart yearns for the natural world, the natural things of the world, getting back to basics, getting back to community. I want to have people around me that are like instilled and engrossed in the things of the earth and the spirit science connected to the earth. Because I feel like that's where the truth lies, is in nature. But people are falling for the shadow right now. And the shadow is the technology. So I don't know. The first day of the rest of your life, every day is, isn't it? Time doesn't exist, but here we are. So what do we do with it while we're here in this experience? Because it's an illusion. Everything's an illusion. And most people can't even grasp that kind of concept. I don't know. I'm always pondering these things. I'm always of mind. So, yeah. It's kind of fun. Kind of fun just pondering stuff, but it's also kind of fun just being present out in nature. Have you guys noticed? Now, this is one thing I've noticed because I know that we live in Saturnian cube boxes. And when we die, we get put into a Saturnian cube box, which I suspect has an impact on our progression of soul. I don't know if you guys know about that, but those caskets, I don't know, back during the Norse days, they would burn the body. After it was out, they would build that funeral pyre over the water, which I think is significant, and also shoot an arrow, a fire arrow, out to the fabric that was covering the body so it would catch fire, and then they would burn the body and it would sink into the water. And I think that's very, very significant from a spiritual standpoint. And I think somehow the reason why we have so many souls, not only because of the Great War that's here now, but because there's been like a log jam in the system with what these usurpers of Egypt have done by summoning Saturn's energy and using it to distort our reality, to alter time, to do all these other things through the high magic of the celestial heavens, because that's how it's done. And you can do that with geomancy, creating all of the sigil magic on the earth in such enormous proportions that it emits even larger or greater fields of energy. And all of those alignments are based on the celestial alignments that spiral around overhead every single night. Anyway, what I was going to mention is about the Saturnian cube house. How many of you feel like once you get into your Saturnian cube house, all of a sudden your energy is like almost depleted? Like you, all of a sudden, you don't feel as fiery. I don't know if it's just me. This is what I'm trying to find out. Is this like, do other people sense that once you get inside your box, that all of a sudden your energy level comes down? Because I feel it, and maybe it's because of my air principle. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Once I go outside, all of a sudden I'm electrically charged, and the sun's energy is radiating, and it's giving me all this energy, and I feel compelled to do more things. Anybody else? No? No cremation? Well, listen, I suspect cremation is part of them taking body parts and stuff when people pass, but I don't know. But obviously, yeah, no burial or embalming, donating, And like, I just want somebody to throw me in the ground. I don't want to be in a box, and I don't want to be embalmed. And, you know, burning is okay, I guess, because that releases the fire is very important. And I came across some information about Native Americans who were talking about how they speak to their elders through the fire. And it also jolted my memory about Harry Potter and how they were using the flue powder in the fireplace to speak to, like, Sirius Black and whoever else they wanted to talk to. I was like, look at that. They're telling us in movies about what we can truly do. So I do that sometimes. I'll have my own ceremony, not really ceremony. I go out, I have an 8-foot fire pit where I burned all the tree branches from my yard. And I get out there the other day and I just started talking to the fire. And I was addressing the elders, and I was like, look, elders, you know, please bring us the wisdom. Please bring us the knowledge back, because we need this right now. And I'm asking it at least for myself, if not everybody else. So, you know, yeah, sun gazing is amazing. I've been missing my moments, unfortunately. But all of this spiritual practice will ground us and reconnect us. So, yeah, the sun is great. The sun, listen, here's another strange phenomena that happens to me when I go out in the sun sometimes. So I go out there and I have a chair and I can close my eyes and just sit in the sun. And these little golden sparks will just start popping around my vision. You know, my eyes are closed and I can kind of see the back of my eyelids, but like these little golden, they're like sparkles, and they'll just start sparkling all around. And I'm like, wow, that's, I guess, the sun. You know, the golden light is coming in, but then eventually it'll go away. So I thought that was kind of an interesting experience. Anyway, yeah, what's everybody? Yes, the sun is changing, and we are changing because more light is coming. You know, the sun is Jesus Christ, right? Here. They didn't want people to know that it's the light of the sun, and it's God's sun. It's God's S-U-N. The U is a lazy O. Every U in existence is a lazy O. And so the sun is God's sun, because nobody can own the sun. This is all Jordan Maxwell's work. And he is our risen Savior, because without the sun, we would not have this experience, this existence. We wouldn't live. And I was like, that's too practical. So it's all tied into the astro-theology, or the science and spirit of the stars. Is DC still empty? Do they still have all those fences up there in DC? Or did they take it down? I haven't spoken to anybody up there lately, so I don't know what's going on. But oh, you can think Jordan Maxwell's a shill all you want. Listen, that man he opened my eyes in a lot of different ways and got me on this path of etymology and stuff. And I researched a lot of what he had to say just to verify things. And absolutely, that man was on point. I joined his research society and I looked at some of his stuff. And I don't know. You know, he was born in Florida. I was born in Florida, and he talked about all kinds of interesting things. And he always said the same stuff. It's not like he was making it up, because when someone makes it up, they'll change their story somehow. But I'm telling you, I do think that there's a lot of stuff that was not spoken of with Jordan Maxwell. Like, he couldn't speak freely. And I had heard that he was part of the Freemasons at one point. But a lot of these people who have been disclosing stuff have been as well. And, you know, I've learned a lot, and I appreciated Jordan Maxwell for what he did for my mind and for my path. Because I tell you, he firmly set my feet on the path of the etymology, and just look at other things. So, I don't know. I haven't caught him lying, so I don't know. He was absolutely intelligent, and honestly, I think he's one of the unsung heroes for humanity, as well as Marcel Vogel, people who aren't mentioned, and what's his name, Dr. Masaru Emoto. Like, we need to have a different alignment of heroes, because without all these other people who are never mentioned in anything, we wouldn't be where we are with a lot of the things that we know today. So, yeah, I like Jordan Maxwell. And I was this close to having him on my channel, having an interview. I called the day after he died. And that was unfortunate, because I was trying to get his phone number, trying to get his contact information directly. I had emailed him like 3 years ago or something, 3 or 4 years ago, and I never got a response. And so I was like, where is his number? And then finally someone said, I have his number. Let me give it to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I called, and he had just passed. And I still have that text message in my phone where the person said, I'm sorry, but Jordan Maxwell just passed yesterday. It was kind of sad. So, but Seth material, Seth? Who's Seth? I don't know who Seth is. 3 days. Yeah, the 3 days. 3 days of darkness and all that stuff. I mean, that stuff's in the wintertime. It's during the winter solstice. But anyway, yeah, it looks like my battery's getting low too. I guess I am done for tonight, guys, and I do appreciate you guys for hanging out with me and enjoying my very first YouTube live tonight. It was only because I was like, you know what, I am getting a log jam of my own on all the different subjects that I'm trying to cover to put content out on my channel. And I'm like, I need to get this out right now, because this was 2 weeks ago. I figured everybody else, maybe they know about Jordan Peterson and what he said recently, but hey, this is important. Let's share it now. Now, channeling, listen, I'm very careful about people who channel information. I only channel and download my own information. I just feel like a lot of it can be hokey and a lot of it can be deceptive. And from what I've seen with a lot of the different spiritual people who are in the spiritual movement right now, who claim this and that, I've seen a lot of deception. And so I'm very careful with who I give my consciousness to. And that's all I can impart on others, is to just be very careful of who you give your free will and your consciousness to, because we are in the deep age of deception still. We're in the dark ages, and it will not end until after Capricorn, which means we have over 4,000 years to go before we actually start seeing a little bit of a difference in the world. We're going to be ruled by Saturn, and that means the shadow aspect of this entire existence. So fun, right? Yeah, I tell you. But, the beauty to it is this. You can just go outside and look at the purity of nature and just know that none of it matters. None of it. It's just an experience to learn and grow from. It's the man's world that's constantly evolving and changing. Nature is always the same, except I do believe that because we're in the winter of consciousness, that the plants evolve and change and shift. And that's why they have, what is the name of that book where they have these unknown plants and they think someone just made them up and they drew pictures of them and everything. I think they really existed, but it was during a different set of ages, perhaps the Golden Age or perhaps the Silver Age. I think everything comes about at its specific moment, because I've watched my own yard evolve throughout the 6 years or so that I've been here. I've watched plants come and I've watched plants go, just in nature. And I'm like, this is kind of interesting how they're growing and they're shifting and changing with the different year cycles and stuff. And that I don't see certain plants anymore. And it's just going to kind of override things, and is eventually going to move out of phase where you won't even recognize anything out here anymore. So yeah, that Voynich manuscript. Yes, absolutely. That's it. I cover so much ground, I can't even remember half the stuff anymore. The names is what I lose. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that again? I can see it, but I don't remember. Yeah, see, there you go with the channels too. Channeling, that's part of magic. Just like spelling and writing and sighting and casting, and yeah, we're magic. That's why, everything's magic. I've got that Secret Life of Plants book. I've also got the Secrets of the Soil. Secrets of the Soil is about the biodynamic farming with Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner's very interesting. Secret Life of Plant. Oh, the Golden Era. I mean, yeah, the Golden Ages. Golden Ages span 3 ages: Gemini, Taurus, and Aries. And we're in the Dark Ages, which is Pisces, Aquarius, and Capricorn. And then you'll have the next phase is going to be the fall, which is the Bronze Age. And fall means that we're just going to shift gears again with the seasons. And this is one thing that I was thinking too, and then I'll probably have to leave. I don't know where my cable is to charge my computer. The Hyperborean, since our year is one day to them, then this winter of consciousness, perhaps the entire world is experiencing a different kind of winter, like we experience all the different seasons throughout an entire year, but perhaps their seasons are longer, like the span of all those ages. And that's why we see Antarctica with ice. And that's why we see what we call the North Pole or Arctic with ice. But in the middle of the Arctic, apparently where these people live is the Golden Spring, because they can maintain it that way through their consciousness and through, I guess it's where the great tree used to be, or maybe it's still there. Maybe it's some aspect, and as it goes up, it disappears into the heavenly light realm. I don't know how it works. I wish I could go there, but it's challenging, because they say that there's maps that show the land masses without all of the ice. And I think that's what's happened, is that we're in the winter phase for all of that. So very interesting. TV Hollywood Voynich is undecipherable. Yeah, well, because we evolve throughout time, and as you see through wars, everything gets overwritten and everything gets reestablished as truth. And man's story is always going to change, and it's going to be whoever is controlling the narrative at that moment who rules the consciousness of the entire mass. But, you know, if you get a grip on what this reality truly entails, you start looking into the alchemy of the four elements and alchemy in general, how it ties to everything inside of you. All of the alchemical processes inside of you are the same that they use in alchemy outside of you, and that you'd start discovering yourself in aspects of nature, looking at nature as a spiritual science, bringing it home, studying the stars, studying the magic spirit. That is what the philosophers of old were doing. They were the magicians, they were the practitioners of these arts, and they are Aristotle, Plato, Ptolemy, all these people. They were practicing high magic. And those towers, those tall, round towers that you see around the world that are remnants of the lost world and still in use, like in Jordan. When I went to Jordan, I saw some of those round towers. Those are magicians' towers for the sorcerers or the magi or the sage or whoever, so that they can study the stars. They have to be closer to the fire and air principle in the sky above the trees. So that way, that conical shape is going to be helping assist in downloading and connecting their consciousness to these higher realms, is how this stuff works. And that's why pyramids are so high. You know, all of this stuff is tied in to the spirit and the alchemy of the spirit. And that's really the path that we're all supposed to be walking, to find out how to make this thing tick. And that is what's coming for a very near future. I know a lot of people are doing it now, looking into Celtic Golden Dawn or Hermetics or whatever. It's all coming down, but we're behind the wheel. Like they've already rolled through all this, all the cabal is just Kabbalah. You know, they've been telling us, putting it in our face, but we haven't seen what they're actually talking about. You know, cabal means that, okay, they've got to shift now because we're about to grab a hold of all that magic principle and all that knowledge and the truth behind it all. But then they've got to create the next deception and run ahead of the game, which is why they planted the seeds of change in technology. It's ridiculous. Yes, exactly. Man changes everything. They change the narrative, but we're chasing the serpent right now. The serpent is ahead of the game. The serpent is going. It's the shadow. It's the shadow aspect. It's going ahead of us and creating whatever the next transitional phase for our consciousness will be. That's all it truly is. Because once we get released back into the ether, it doesn't matter. You know, you take that experience, you go through the spheres. There's different spheres of energy that you got to exit, and you take that experience into each one, and you kind of leave it there so that when you come back in, you are coming through that light energy, and it gets back into you in an aspect of you, but you take a different form completely, and you take on a different role. You choose whatever meat suit for whatever character role you're going to play, because this is RPG. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, and you get to be an Aquarius or a Leo or a Capricorn or whatever. You know, somebody wrote the playbook, and someone is very, very intelligent to do that. So who are they? I don't know. Maybe we get to meet them someday. Maybe it's just us, because that's what they say, is that it's really just us, and we're just a tiny little minuscule fragment of the bigger me, which is all of us together and everything in existence. And I don't know how it works, but it is interesting when you start going down these trails of information. So yeah, it's a lot. You should see my mounds of books I have everywhere. I got stuff everywhere on all kinds of things. The Secret War. Oh, I've got to get in touch with her too. I've talked to her once before, this woman, Heidi Hollis, and she talks about the secret war that we're in right now. She has several books. And I've got, different things, paranormal, parasites, strange intruders, all that stuff. Anyway, yeah. Lots of stuff. Never a dull moment, never a dull subject to talk about, because it's only the weird stuff for me. I don't do surface level stuff normally. I just doesn't interest me. Everybody else is talking about it. So yeah. Decrement is very clear. Yeah, we've got to help people somehow. We got to help people see somehow. I don't know. But the problem is you can't force anyone away. You can't force your beliefs or your, whatever you've discovered on someone else, because if they're not on the frequency, they won't ever hear the message. And that's the only unfortunate part. But there are a lot of us that are here now, and I guess we're like the wave of the future. So anyway, I've enjoyed being here with you guys, and maybe I'll go live on another day. I just wanted to really share that Jordan Peterson video because it's blowing me away, and also Stephen Benoon's. I will be talking about Planet X very soon, because I really want people to open their eyes to what this next deception is with this whole Planet X narrative. The stars never change. This is something that can be proven. If you have your own telescope, you can prove it to yourself. But they're always saying, oh no, there's a new star and all this stuff. The people of the last golden age knew there was no stars, because it's a clock that never changes except for the timelines that we go through. So anyway, yeah, be the wave of frequencies that'll be the change of tomorrow. How about that? The change that's for the better. Hey, from Australia, good to see you. Yeah, listen, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. I am going to bid you adieu, because I've been here for a bit tonight, and I'll just be live whenever, on a whim, on the next one. I don't really schedule things. I'm not a scheduler. I'm like, yeah, I don't want conformity. I just got to be a free flow. So I will see you guys soon, though. I do have a video that I'm going to be putting out soon to entertain you and dazzle your mind. So hopefully you guys will be charmed somehow, or at least entertained. Hey guys, Australia, it's good to see you. Yeah, thanks guys. Good to see you. I'll see y'all soon.